Andrea Bocelli's journey is not simply the story of a remarkable singer with a powerful voice. It is the story of a man who transformed uncertainty into purpose and personal struggles into a message that reached millions across the globe. Behind the elegance of his performances, the unforgettable melodies, and the emotional moments shared with audiences everywhere, there exists a lifetime shaped by resilience, devotion, and quiet determination. Born in Tuscany, Bocelli faced challenges from his earliest days, yet those obstacles never became the limits others expected them to be. Instead, they became part of the foundation that built his extraordinary character. His rise from a small Italian village to the world's greatest stages was not an overnight miracle, but a journey filled with sacrifice, discipline, faith, and courage. While many people recognize his voice, fewer understand the experiences that created the person behind it. From childhood battles to global fame, from moments of doubt to moments of inspiration, Andrea Bocelli's life reveals how perseverance can create something truly timeless. A childhood shaped by courage and unexpected challenges. Andrea Bocelli entered the world in 1958 in the peaceful Tuscan village of Lajatico, where his family lived a modest life surrounded by countryside traditions. Before his birth, doctors warned his mother that her child would face serious visual difficulties because of congenital glaucoma. They suggested a painful decision, but his mother chose hope and continued the pregnancy. That decision became the first defining moment in Bocelli's extraordinary story. His early years were filled with love, family support, and an environment where music slowly became a natural part of his identity. Although his eyesight was limited, his imagination was not. He discovered that sounds, melodies, and voices could create entire worlds beyond what his eyes could see. His family noticed that music brought him comfort and happiness from a very young age. Whether listening to the radio or experimenting with instruments, Andrea developed a connection with music that seemed almost instinctive. Those early experiences shaped his emotional understanding of melody and prepared him for a future nobody around him could have predicted. His childhood was not defined by what he lacked, but by the possibilities he continued discovering. The powerful role music played in his development. Music became Andrea Bocelli's language of expression long before the world recognized his talent. As a child, he absorbed every sound around him and developed a remarkable ability to imitate famous Italian tenors. His curiosity led him to study several instruments, including piano, flute, saxophone, trumpet, trombone, guitar, and drums. Each instrument gave him another way to understand rhythm, harmony, and emotion. A recording of Franco Corelli's singing created a particularly important moment because Bocelli heard something that felt deeply connected to his own dreams. The voice of the legendary tenor inspired him to pursue singing with greater seriousness. However, his path was never simple or predictable. At 12 years old, a devastating accident changed his life forever when a soccer injury caused a brain hemorrhage and resulted in complete blindness. Losing his remaining vision could have created overwhelming limitations, but Bocelli refused to allow the tragedy to define him. Instead, he adapted by strengthening his other senses and developing extraordinary independence. He learned music through Braille, continued riding horses, and explored the world through sound and memory. His relationship with music became even stronger because it represented freedom rather than restriction, finding purpose through education and personal discipline. After losing his sight, Andrea Bocelli continued building a life filled with ambition and responsibility. He did not immediately pursue a career in music because he wanted a broader education and a stable foundation. He attended the University of Pisa and studied law, eventually earning his degree and working as a court-appointed lawyer. During those years, however, music remained an essential part of his identity. He performed in piano bars during evenings to support himself financially and continued developing the voice that would later transform his life. Those performances gave him valuable experience because he learned how to connect with audiences in intimate settings. In one of these piano bars, he met Enrica, who later became his first wife. Their relationship represented an important chapter, before international fame arrived. Although his legal career appeared successful and respectable, Bocelli always felt a deeper calling toward music. The stage continued attracting him, and the dream of becoming a professional singer never disappeared. His years outside the spotlight taught him patience, discipline, and humility. Instead of seeing them as wasted time, he gained experiences that helped shape the mature artist who would eventually captivate millions around the world. The discovery that changed his entire musical future. Andrea Bocelli's breakthrough arrived through an unexpected opportunity involving a simple demonstration recording. In 1992, Italian musician Zucchero needed a tenor voice for a demo of his song Miserere. Before presenting it to Luciano Pavarotti, Bocelli was invited to record the temporary version, and nobody expected that moment to become a turning point in music history. When Pavarotti heard the recording, he recognized something extraordinary in Bocelli's voice. Rather than replacing him, he encouraged Zucchero to keep Bocelli on the song. This recognition from one of opera's greatest figures helped introduce Bocelli to a much larger audience. Soon afterward, he joined Zucchero's European tour and performed Nessun Dorma, allowing audiences to experience his voice firsthand. Producer Caterina Caselli later heard him perform and offered him a recording opportunity. His appearance at the Sanremo Music Festival brought even more attention, especially after winning the newcomers competition and later claiming victory in the main category. His debut recordings quickly achieved success, proving that his unique combination of classical technique and emotional delivery could connect with listeners beyond traditional opera audiences. The world was beginning to discover a voice that would soon become unforgettable. Faith, romance, and international recognition through song. As Andrea Bocelli's career expanded, his personal beliefs and emotional connections became increasingly important parts of his identity. Earlier in life, he considered himself distant from religion, but his reflections and reading eventually led him back toward Catholic faith. For Bocelli, spirituality became a source of peace and meaning, rather than a public statement. His invitation to sing before Pope John Paul II represented a deeply personal experience connected to his beliefs. Meanwhile, his music was reaching listeners far beyond Italy. The song Con te partirò became a global sensation after its success in Europe, and its duet version with Sarah Brightman, Time to Say Goodbye, transformed him into an international star. The emotional power of the song crossed language barriers and introduced millions of people to his voice. His performances carried a sense of vulnerability that made audiences feel connected to him personally. Bocelli was not simply delivering technically impressive singing, he was communicating memories, emotions, and human experiences. This ability allowed him to build a relationship with listeners from different cultures and backgrounds. His success demonstrated that genuine emotion could create a bridge between classical music traditions and modern global audiences, building a special connection with American audiences worldwide. Winning the hearts of American listeners required Andrea Bocelli to create more than musical success. He needed to build an emotional connection. His television appearances and international concerts gradually introduced his voice to millions of people who had never followed opera. A major moment came through his performances in the United States, where audiences discovered the warmth and sincerity behind his extraordinary technique. His appearance on popular programs helped make classical music feel accessible to everyday viewers. One especially memorable performance of The Prayer with Celine Dion became a defining example of his ability to create powerful emotional moments. Their collaboration combined two distinctive voices and became one of the most admired songs associated with both artists. Bocelli's friendship with Celine also reflected his reputation as a compassionate and supportive colleague. Over the years, he continued performing with major artists while maintaining his own unique identity. His voice became associated with celebrations, remembrance, hope, and personal reflection. For many Americans, Bocelli represented more than an opera singer. He became a symbol of perseverance and beauty, someone whose music could provide comfort during both joyful occasions and difficult periods, offering comfort during moments of global uncertainty. The year 2020 brought one of Andrea Bocelli's most meaningful public moments when the world faced fear and isolation during the COVID pandemic. Standing alone outside the empty Milan Duomo on Easter Sunday, he performed in a setting that reflected the uncertainty experienced by millions of people. Without a traditional audience surrounding him, his voice carried through a silent city and reached people watching from homes around the world. The performance became a symbol of hope during a period when many were searching for connection and reassurance. Bocelli's message was not about fame or achievement, but about shared humanity. The simplicity of the moment highlighted the emotional power that had defined his career from the beginning. Throughout his life, he had transformed personal challenges into sources of strength, and this performance reflected that same philosophy. His voice represented comfort, reminding listeners that beauty could still exist during difficult times. The response showed how deeply audiences trusted him and how his music had become part of their emotional lives. By then, Bocelli was no longer only a performer on stages. He had become a voice associated with resilience, compassion, and hope. Navigating public pressure. With personal integrity, fame brought Andrea Bocelli admiration, but it also placed him in situations where every decision attracted public attention. In 2016, reports connected him with a possible performance at Donald Trump's presidential inauguration, creating intense reactions from people who disagreed with the event. Bocelli had known Trump personally and viewed participation as a gesture involving an individual relationship rather than a political endorsement. However, as criticism increased, he decided not to become part of the ceremony. He avoided public arguments and allowed the controversy to pass quietly. The situation revealed the challenges faced by artists whose personal choices are often interpreted through political perspectives. Bocelli's response reflected his preference for avoiding confrontation and maintaining focus on music rather than public disputes. Another difficult moment came when opera singer Placido Domingo faced allegations of sexual misconduct. Bocelli expressed concern about judging people without complete information, while also acknowledging the importance of accountability. These moments showed that even a beloved performer could face complicated moral questions. His career was built around music, but public life required him to navigate issues far beyond the concert stage. The challenges tested his patience, values, and ability to remain composed under pressure. A legacy built on compassion and enduring inspiration. Andrea Bocelli's greatest achievement is not only the number of albums sold or the stages where he has performed. His lasting legacy comes from the way his life story continues inspiring people who face their own obstacles. He demonstrated that blindness did not prevent achievement and hardship did not have to eliminate ambition. Through his foundation, concerts, and humanitarian efforts, he has used his success to support opportunities for others. His career represents the combination of extraordinary talent and consistent determination. The qualities that shaped him as a child remain visible in the artist he became: humility, curiosity, discipline, and gratitude. Bocelli never presented himself as someone untouched by difficulty. Instead, he acknowledged the struggles that formed his character and helped him understand others. His voice continues reaching audiences because it carries more than technical excellence. It carries a lifetime of experiences, emotions, and memories. Generations of listeners have found comfort in his performances because they recognize the humanity behind every note. Andrea Bocelli's story remains powerful because it proves that limitations can become sources of strength when met with courage and purpose. His music continues reminding the world that hope can emerge from the most unexpected beginnings.